Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time watching my video, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also click on notification button so that whenever I post new videos, you will be notified. And also I want to thank my subscribers and my returning viewers. Thank you so much for watching. So I know you guys will be wondering what this video is all about. This video is put up here to remind Igbos of their history. This video is to remind us that we had a history and there's a history we had that has not been talked about, and we are moving on like everything is okay with us. That is the massacre, or we call it the genocide, that happened in Biafra land, eastern part of Nigeria to be precisely. So I'm here to talk about the immediate causes of the war in 1963. And this war included ethno-religious violence and anti-Igbo pogroms in northern Nigeria, a military coup, a counter coup, and a persecution of Igbo living in northern Nigeria. This Biafran war started as a result of the way Igbos were being treated in the northern part of Nigeria. During the war, a lot of Igbos died. A lot of Igbos starved to death. A lot of children, mothers, pregnant women, fathers starved to death were being killed because of this war. And the Igbos, mostly living in the northern part of Nigeria, suffered the most because they were being massacred and they were being killed in the northern part of Nigeria. I'm not saying that it is now a history because these things still happen. For instance, the student that was killed recently in Kaduna, that was accused of blaspheming. We know how everything died down on the Igbo's lives and properties. The girl in question was not an Igbo girl, she was an Hausa girl. But because she was a Christian and she was accused of blaspheming their prophet, they stoned her to death, burnt her, and started destroying the properties of Igbos, something that did not concern Igbos, but because of that hatred that has been passed on from generation to generation on this blood of the Northerners that is still existing among them. They started destroying Igbos' properties and their livelihood and their means of livelihood. So, my beautiful people, I know a lot of people, especially the new generation, have not heard of the story, or they have not been told of how their grandfathers, how their great-grandfathers were being starved to death by the Nigerian government, and the reason why Nnamdi Kanu seems to be putting his life on the line for the restoration of Biafra. So I hope this video help a lot of people to know their roots and how they suffered and why the Biafra agitation is going on recently. So in this video, we'll be remembering Nigerian Biafra War that many people seems to forget. They prefer to forget it, and a lot of people don't even tell their children the story. But thank God for social media. At least people can storm into videos like this and know their history. The death of more than 1 million people in Nigeria as a result of the brutal civil war, which ended exactly 50 years ago, are a scar on the nation's history. For most Nigerians, the war over the breakaway state of Biafra is generally regarded as an unfortunate episode best forgotten. But for the Igbo people who fought for succession, it remains a life-defining event. In 1967, following two coups and turmoil which led to about 1 million Igbos returning to the southeast of Nigeria, the Republic of Biafra succeeded with 33-year-old military officer Emeka Odumegu Ojukwu at the helm. The Nigerian government declared war, and after 30 months of fighting, Biafra surrendered. On 15 January 1970, the conflict officially ended. The government's policy of no victor, no vanquished may have led to a lack of official reflection, but many Nigerians of Igbo origin grew up on stories from people who lived through the war. Three of those who were involved in the secessionist campaign had been sharing their opinion, and we are going to be discussing these three people in this video. One of them is Christopher Ejike Ago. He was a Biafran soldier, and he wrote on his popular thought of, "We thought we were magicians." Christopher Ejike Ago, he had just finished grammar school and started training as a veterinary assistant at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka UNN, in southeastern Nigeria. When the Civil War began, he said almost every student he knew became part of the war effort. He joined the Biafra army and was assigned to the signal unit, whose responsibility included active intelligence and developing on the Nigerian military. He also said, "We thought we were magicians. The Nigerians who were pursuing us were trained soldiers. We were not. We were drafted into the war, given 2 days training. Plus the fact that we were hungry, some of us, our skin, were getting rotten. Nobody can fight a war like that." In January 1966, some senior Nigerian army officers, mostly of the Igbo ethnic groups, assassinated key politicians during a coup in the West African state. Those killed included Ahmadu Bello, a revealed leader in the north. This led to months of massacre against the Igbo living in the north. Tens of thousands were killed in the north. Tens of thousands were killed while about 1 million fled to what was then known as the Eastern region. These events sparked the decision to secede, spearheaded by Ojukwu, who was then the military governor of the Eastern region. In the months preceding the war, Ojukwu often visited UNN, the only university in southeastern Nigeria at the time, to meet with students and prepare them for secession. Mr. Ago looked forward to these visits and joined the crowd who gathered at the university's Freedom Square. Once his helicopter touched down, everybody went there and practically school shut down. He had his incredible sense of humor. He sparked everyone up and we formed songs and we were singing and enjoying ourselves. In the first year of war, the Nigerian government captured the coastal city of Port Harcourt and imposed a blockage, which cut food supply to Biafra. Mr. Ago remembers the overpowering hunger that often forced Biafran soldiers to catch and eat maize. He also remembers the last year of the war when his unit was continuously on the move, fleeing the advancing Nigerian army. Somewhere in the middle of the war, he said, "The Biafra made some dramatic successes that gave us hope that we might hold the Nigerians on until at least some help from outside came." By late 1969, all hope was lost. And he went further in bringing out some Biafran timelines. January 1966, Nigerian government overthrown in what was seen as an Igbo coup led by junior army officers. January 1966 also, Colonel Odumegwu Ojukwu appointed military governor of Eastern Region. July 1966, second coup masterminded by Murtala Mohammed. Late Colonel Yakubu Gowon became head of state. June to October 1966, riots in northern Nigeria targeted at Igbos, killing many and forcing up to 1 million to return to southeast Nigeria. May 1967, Ojukwu declares independence of the Republic of Biafra. July 1967, war begins. October 1967, Biafra capital Enugu falls. May 1968, Nigeria captures oil-rich Port Harcourt. April 1969, Umuahia, new Biafran capital, falls to Nigerian forces. January 1970, Ojukwu flee Nigeria. January 1970, Biafra surrenders. So Mr. Ago left the army and went in search of his family, whom he had not heard from in more than 2 years. He collected his portion from an allocation of raw rice to his unit, then set off towards the village of a relative, where he suspected his parents and siblings would be holed up. I had to carry the rice while starving myself, carrying it across rivers and forests until I found them, he said. Many of his friends and classmates had died at the battlefront, but his family were delighted to see that the son and brother they assumed dead was alive, and then were glad that he had turned up with food. Hunger killed more Biafrans than bullets and bombs. When the university was reopened a few months after the war ended, Mr. Ago returned to UNN, eventually graduating with a degree in plant and soil science. I think we would have done better if we had handled it with a little bit more intelligence, said Mr. Ago. I think now that Ojukwu thought he was Jesus Christ. He thought he could do magic. If he had slowed down and allowed some people who were with him to advise him properly, we would have come out better than we did. So another person that witnessed the war is Felix Nwankwo Oragu. He's a scientist. He described his as they only had knives and cutlass. Felix Nwankwo Oragu, he was a physics lecturer at UNN when the Civil War began. For the next 30 months, he headed the research and production RAP group comprising Igbo scientists from various fields. Its primary responsibility was to provide technologically support to the Biafran army, which was poorly equipped. The RAP's most notable product was the Ogbunigwe, a weapon launcher of remarkable and devastating effect, which influenced the outcome of many battles in Biafran favor. According to historical reports, without us, the war would have lasted only about 30 hours, said the 85-year-old man. When the war started, there was no single weapon, either in a store or anywhere throughout Biafra. They only had knives and cutlasses, no gun, no bomb, no nothing. In the aftermath of the war, the Nigerian government did not want to impose any form of collective punishment. Nevertheless, the Igbos faced some devastating consequences, particularly economic, as the Biafran currency that people had accumulated became worthless. Many Igbos still feel sidelined in Nigerian politics, as since the Civil War, no one from the ethnic group has become president. Increasing cries of marginalization have led in recent years to the emergencies of Igbo's group agitating once again for secession, particularly the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, formed by UK-based British Nigerian named Nnamdi Kanu. Mr. Orago wished that the Igbo had paid less attention to the scramble for power at the center and instead distinguished their region by advancing the technologically gain of the war. Biafra would have been a technological nation and would have been able to compete with anyone, he said, anger in his voice. This is what makes me sad. By the time we would have been competing with at least South Korea, the scientists' wartime accomplishment had caught the attention of the Nigerian authority, and he was invited by the government to pioneer to pioneer to special science and technology program for the country. He was behind the settings up of 4 universities of science and technology in different regions of Nigeria, and after retirement, he published scientific and technological innovations in Biafra, a book he hoped would inspire young Nigerians. Nigeria was programmed by the British colonial authorities not to participate in production and manufacture of global technologies, he wrote in his book. The war gave the opportunities to reject the colonial design. And the third person that witnessed the war is Edna Nwanobi. She is a teacher. She described hers as an incredible period. Mrs. Edna Nwanobi, she was teaching English and French in secondary school in Port Harcourt in southern Nigeria when the war began. While the UK backed Nigeria, France was the most prominent supporter of Biafra. But English was more widely spoken in Biafra, so translators were needed whenever French officials visit Ojukwu. Mrs. Nwanobi joined the Biafran Ministry of Foreign Affairs as part of a handful of translators who worked directly with Ojukwu. The war was an incredible period, said 82-year-old Mrs. Nwanobi. Everybody was forced to go home, so you were forced to fraternize with your people more than any time before. And people who worked in every Biafran office were high-level people. These were people who were doing all sorts of things, and the war forced them out of their position. She enjoyed working directly with the Biafran leader, whom she and her colleagues fondly referred to as Brother OJ. He was a generous man, she said again and again, and he was disciplined. The OJ means Ojukwu, and he was disciplined. If any meeting lasted more than 2 hours, he wouldn't be party to it. Her most memorable assignment occurred after the Biafra military captured 6 Italian oil workers employed by the Nigerian government. Officials from different European countries traveled to meet Ojukwu to appeal for their release. That was the largest assembly we had, she recalled. Even the Vatican sent representatives. During the meeting, Mrs. Nwanobi conveyed to Ojukwu that he stood the risk of losing European support. He promised to consider the matter, and the Italians were subsequently released. Mrs. Nwanobi met Ojukwu for the last time on 27 December 1969 when she lined up outside his office with his colleague to receive a Christmas gift and a handshake from him. A few days later, she left the country for the Biafran office in Paris. During a stopover of several days in Lisbon, she heard that Biafra had surrendered. Her first concern was for Ojukwu. I was worried that he would come to harm, she said softly. I didn't want anybody to disgrace him. Her worry lifted when she learned that her boss had escaped in his private jet and was granted asylum by Ivory Coast, a francophone country. Mrs. Nwanobi spent much of her 1970s in Canada before returning to Nigeria in 1977, where she assumed work as a secondary school teacher. Ojukwu himself remained in exile for 13 years after he was officially pardoned by the Nigerian government. He returned in 1982 with multitudes pouring onto the streets of his home state of Anambra to welcome him. He died in November 2011 and was given a full military burial in a ceremony attended by then Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan. Some other African leaders are members of the diplomatic corps. 50 years after the Biafran conflict, Nigeria is still battling to maintain its unity with various groups, not just the Igbos, calling for the restructuring of Africa's most populous state. It is probably for this reason that the war is barely mentioned. The government has nothing to gain by reminding Nigerians that secession has happened before and can't be attempted again. So, after 2.5 years of war, during which almost 2 million Biafran civilians, 3/4 of them small children, died from starvation caused by the total blockage of the region by the Nigerian government, Biafra forced under Nigerian motto, no victor, no vanquished, surrendered to the Nigerian government. So, my beautiful people, this is a story that we have not been told about. The Biafran story is a story that whenever I think of it, I shed tears. Because what happened then is still happening up to now. The Igbos are still treated like outcasts in their own country. The Igbos are still being cheated in what they have right towards. Ojukwu started the war because we need to defend ourselves. But before Ojukwu died, he said he regrets that war. Because that war consumed a lot of lives. A lot of people died. A lot of Igbos died. Children starved to death. Do you know what it means by somebody starving to death? If you are an Igbo and you don't know anything about Biafra, you need to watch this video. You need to calm down and know your roots. We suffered a lot and we are still suffering as Igbos. The same way the whites don't like the blacks is the same way Nigerian government don't like Igbos. We are like blacks in the eyes of the white. So, this is the reason why Nnamdi Kanu is agitating. This is the reason why Nnamdi Kanu is being held in prison, because the Nigerian government is afraid that Nnamdi Kanu may start this war again, just like Ojukwu did. Ojukwu wasn't proud of it, wasn't happy with the war because of the way it turned out to become. But he was proud that he took a step. They blocked everywhere that food would be supplied to the Igbos. People started starving to death. Igbos died. Our grandfathers, our granduncles, our grandaunties died in this war. The Nigerian government killed them. They starved to death. This is a story that most people don't talk about. This is a story that people tend to forget. The Westerners, they celebrate Abiola's death. Abiola's death is being declared public holiday upon. They should have been, if Igbos are regarded, there should have been a public holiday to remember the massacre and the genocide that was done on the Igbos. You should be taking public holiday because the Westerners fought tooth and nail for Abiola's Remembrance Date to be declared a public holiday. Igbos are supposed to be given a public holiday to mourn their brothers and their sisters who lost their lives in the war. Babies that don't know what is going on. Their mother cannot feed them. And they starve to death. I feel so heartbroken telling the story. I feel so bad telling the story. Because Igbos are still being cheated. Anytime you come across this video, just capture one or two things. Retrace your steps if you have not done that. The reason why Biafra, we are fighting for Biafra, is because of this. And that reason why we are fighting for Biafra has not even been attended to. Starvation is still the order of the day. Killing. The Northerners are still even killing us in our own land. Imagine during the time of the herdsmen, the Fulani herdsmen, going into people's crops in the eastern part of Nigeria. The Fulanis, they will leave their place, come into the east, then carry their cows and destroy people's farm crops. The Nigerian government, they did as if they don't know what is going on. They just turned deaf ears. But when the Igbos retaliated and started killing some Fulanis, that was when the president started saying something. The partiality is right in front of our face, but we are too blind to see it. Look at the picture on the screen. Look at these children. I can imagine how it was. They are so hungry that they want to even eat the white man up. Honestly, I am not proud of my history. It brings sadness to my soul. This is man inhumanity to man. How can somebody eat its own? We are saying that the whites don't like the black, racism. But among the blacks, among us, we still have ethnicism. Tribalism is the order of the day. The northerners, the northern part of Nigeria, don't want to have anything to do with the southeast. They don't like us. We want to leave Nigeria. Still, they refuse. If you have not known why the Nigerian government don't want Biafra to stand on their own, I will tell you in this video. The reason is because of the oil The oil that they steal from is in eastern part of Nigeria. If not for that oil, Nigeria would have been divided. If not for that oil is what makes us Nigeria. Look at how people were running for their lives. People became refugees in their own country, carrying their load on their head, running for their lives. Oh, I can imagine how it was. I can imagine the day this picture was taken. I can imagine the suffering. I can imagine it. People lose their life for nothing. That oil in the east is what made us Nigeria. But the northerners are digging gold in the north. The gold is for the north. The oil is for Nigeria. I don't seem to understand the whole thing. Whenever I think of it, it drives me crazy. But nevertheless, we survive it. That is the strength of Igbos. Upon all what was done to us, upon how we suffered, upon how we ran away from our home, Igbos still remain the richest ethnic group in Nigeria. Even with no political position. Simply because we are always business oriented. And we know how to make ourselves happy even when the government fails us. There's this particular blood that runs on every Igbos that you cannot take away from them. You might take away their strength. You might take away everything else, their money, everything, but you cannot take away the thinking of an Igbo man. There is this common sense an Igbo man has. Look at this picture, it's so heartbreaking. Look at children. Oh, people are walking barefooted, not even knowing where they are going to, not knowing what they will encounter next. This was what war did to us. This was what war did to our people. War brought a lot of bad things to us, starvation and everything. This was what war did. This video it touches me anytime I come across it. Look at children being killed by the bullets of Nigerian soldiers. Look at this little boy. Shot dead, coupled with hunger. This little boy, does he deserve this? He has died a long time ago, but a lot of this is still recurring. in today's Nigeria. It is so heartbreaking. It is so heartbreaking. If Biafra is going to be the solution, the answered prayer, why not give us Biafra and let us be? Haven't we suffered enough? Haven't we cried enough? Haven't they killed us enough? Haven't we been dehumanized enough? Our only crime is that we are Igbos. Our only crime is that we want to be equal. This is what Nnamdi Kanu is fighting for. Because he understands. He really understands. My beautiful people, if you have watched my video to this extent and you have not subscribed to my channel, please don't forget to do so. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget to click on that notification button. I will bring you more stories like this about Biafra and what our people went through. More stories like this will come to your screen. So that if those of you that don't know your roots, you will know your roots. Those of you that don't know what went down, we know. Our fathers, our grandfathers suffered in the hands of the Nigerian government. My beautiful people, I am like shedding tears as I'm making this video, but I just have to contain myself. It is so heartbreaking what our people went through. And it is more heartbreaking that we are still going through the same fate, even in 2022. We have still been regarded with no no recognition. We are still being treated like foreigners in our own land. Oh, how much I love Odumegwu Ojukwu. He was a man of courage. He was a man of courage. Mind us, I am not agitating for war. War is never good. War is terrible. I am not praying for war. And I am not supporting war. War is something we should never, ever encounter anymore. I'm only saying that let us be on our own. Let the Igbos go in peace. That is where I stand. But the Nigerian government will not want that to happen because of the oil. Let the Igbos go, they will not. Give Igbos what belongs to them, they will not. Enough of the cheating. If we talk, they will kill us. A place in the east, in a part of East Olu, local government has become a war zone. Nobody goes in there. All because of what the Nigerian soldiers has turned it into. Boko Harams kill and slaughter people every day and nobody has done anything about it. But the Igbos have been treated like criminals. Anyway, my beautiful people, like I said before, if you've watched my video up to this length, thank you very much. I'll bring more updates, more videos like this. I thank you all for watching. I thank you all for subscribing. I will see you in my next video. And I'll also bring more historical videos like this to your screen. Thank you so much. Have the best of the day, and may God bless us all. Amen.